Welcome back to Car Master Hub. Alright, let's talk about one of the true legends of American muscle and performance of the Chevrolet Corvette C3. Known as the Shark Corvette, this car isn't just a vehicle, it's a statement. From its groundbreaking design to its impressive performance, the C3 took the Corvette legacy to a whole new level. In this video, we're diving deep into everything that makes the Corvette C3 so iconic and why it's still one of the most cherished sports cars in history. Let's start by talking about the design. When the C3 hit the market in 1968, it was hard to ignore. Designers took inspiration from the 1965 Mako Shark II concept, giving it a low, aggressive stance and those sleek, flowing lines that seemed to hug the road. Its long nose and short rear deck gave it a classic sports car profile that turned heads back then and still does today. Pop-up headlights, which were cutting edge at the time, became one of the C3's most recognizable features, adding to its distinct personality. It was a design that didn't just look fast, it felt fast, even standing still. Now, under the hood, the C3 offered an impressive array of engine options throughout its 14-year run, from inline sixes in the early days to the powerful V8s that defined American muscle. Let's focus on the ones that really made an impact. Early C3 models came with a range of small and big block V8 engines, including the legendary 427 cubic inch V8, which produced 390 horsepower. By the early 70s, Corvette fans could get their hands on the 454 cubic inch big block V8 that pumped out a monstrous 425 horsepower in the LS6 variant. For its time, this was astonishing power, making the C3 a force to be reckoned with both on the streets and the track. The Corvette C3 also excelled in terms of performance and handling. This was a car built for thrill seekers. The introduction of independent rear suspension improved handling and cornering abilities, while the addition of disc brakes on all four wheels gave it better stopping power, a big plus when dealing with all that horsepower. And while the C3 wasn't necessarily the lightest sports car, it handled surprisingly well thanks to its near 50-50 weight distribution. On a twisty road or open highway, the C3 felt planted, responsive, and, above all, powerful. Driving one was, and still is, an experience that gets your heart racing. Now, the Corvette C3 wasn't just about speed. It had its fair share of technological innovations too. By 1978, the C3 introduced new features like the glass fastback rear window, which not only improved aerodynamics but also created a sleek silhouette. Inside, it wasn't all bare bones either. You had options for air conditioning, leather seats, and an 8-track player, which, believe it or not, was a big deal back then. And in later models, Corvette also introduced an LCD gauge cluster. This was state-of-the-art at the time, bringing a modern twist to a classic muscle car. Now let's touch on a couple of unique selling points that helped the C3 stand out. One big feature that enthusiasts loved was the T-top roof design. For those who couldn't decide between a coupe and a convertible, this was the perfect compromise. You could easily remove the roof panels and store them in the car, giving you that open-air feel without sacrificing structure or design. It was a clever feature that added to the car's allure and made it perfect for sunny day cruising. Speaking of cruising, the C3 was also surprisingly comfortable for a sports car of its time. While many muscle cars of the era were rough, raw, and meant to be stripped down for speed, the C3 found a balance. Its interior wasn't luxurious by today's standards, but it was built with driver comfort in mind. With bucket seats, a plush steering wheel, and the aforementioned options for leather and other premium materials, it managed to deliver a high-performance experience without completely sacrificing comfort. But let's also talk about the era's challenges. The C3 faced some tough times, especially in the 70s. Emission restrictions, fuel crises, and changing regulations meant that performance took a hit midway through its production. By the late 70s, horsepower was way down, with some models producing as little as 165 horsepower. However, Chevy worked around these restrictions to keep the Corvette relevant. They refined the design, improved fuel efficiency, and continued to make handling enhancements. Even during the tough times, the C3 kept the Corvette name alive and maintained its status as an American icon. Another standout feature of the C3 is its collector appeal. Unlike some cars that fade into the background, the C3 remains incredibly popular in the classic car community. This is partly due to its bold design, partly due to its performance, but also because it was the longest-running Corvette generation. With 14 years of production, there are plenty of C3s out there, making it easier for enthusiasts to find and restore them. Prices vary widely depending on the condition and rarity, but a well-maintained C3 is a beautiful piece of automotive history that only continues to grow in value. Now, let's wrap up with some thoughts on why the Corvette C3 has earned its place in automotive history. This car is an icon because it embodies the spirit of American muscle with a style and character all its own. Whether you appreciate it for its bold design, impressive performance, or simply the nostalgia it brings, the C3 represents an era where cars were crafted to be more than just machines. There were statements, a reflection of freedom, power, and the open road. So, if you're lucky enough to own a C3 or you're considering buying one, know that you're stepping into a piece of history. It's a car that's guaranteed to turn heads, get conversations started, and most importantly put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more in-depth reviews, right here on Car Master Hub.